아저씨 mate,
아저씨 mate.
아줌마 mate.
My Korean husband.
Hey guys, I'm Nicola.
I'm Mr. Guan.
And we're from the My Korean Husband blog, and today we're doing another Ask
Ask
Us
Us
video.
video.
Yeah. Okay, first question is from Beth, and she asks, if you could live in another country other than Korea or Australia, which one would you pick and why? I've never really thought that much about if I could live somewhere else because always, like for the past several years, it's always been Korea or Australia. That's sort of all we've thought about. But what do you think?
Vanuatu? No.
Vanuatu, I think would
I
be.
love it, but
Like you'd have to have a house there and then just go there
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah, that's where we had our honeymoon, so we really like Vanuatu. A lot of Aussies go to the UK, so like maybe because my family is originally from Bristol, actually, on my mum's side of the family. So maybe go back to my roots, my heritage.
but I wanna live somewhere really warm weather.
Warm weather. Okay, so more tropical.
Yeah.
Okay. Indonesia. Okay, I visited Indonesia a few times. That is a possibility, but not in Bali where all the Aussies are. I don't want to be where all the Australians go.
Singapore.
Yeah, maybe.
Singapore or Hong Kong.
Singapore or Hong Kong. Okay, I think that's our option. So either going back to my British heritage or somewhere that is an Asian multicultural place like that.
Yes, Singapore
Yes.
will be good.
Yeah, I think that would be best for us. Yeah, let us know what you guys think. Like, if we couldn't live in Australia or Korea, what country do you think that we would fit into? Lila asked, what has been the strangest custom you have learned from each other? Example, women can eat after the men eat, age hierarchy terms like nuna, upo, etc. Okay, so she said something very interesting in this question. She said that women can only eat after the men, but that is not a thing in Korea anymore.
Long time ago.
A long time ago. The first time I actually heard of this was a Korean American talking about it because his grandparents still did that. And that's been the only time we've heard of this custom still being around is Korean Americans that left Korea a long time ago, and they're still doing those customs that are from 60 years ago or so. So that's not really a thing in Korea anymore.
Not really. We don't really do that.
Yeah, everybody eats at the same time, but
Yes.
a long time ago, the women had to eat after the men. Did they have to eat in the kitchen as well?
Oh yes, I
Something,
guess.
something like that, yeah. But it's not like that in Korea anymore. So I would say that the strangest custom for me would still be the hierarchy thing. Certain terms that you use instead of actually using somebody's name, like oppa and nuna, and even just people on the street when you say ajumma or ajashi, that type of thing. I still think that's the strangest to me, even though I'm completely used to it now. It's just so different from my culture that it is always something that is unusual to me.
Yeah, in Australia we don't have that kind of custom. Like we don't have the hierarchy system as like Korea. So it's really hard to talk with someone who's important, especially like my mother-in-law and father-in-law. I still can't call their name. I can't.
Yeah. And just people, like I think a lot of Australians just default to mate on the street. So instead of saying like, you know, especially among men, instead of saying something like, oh, ajashi or whatever like that, they'll say mate. So if somebody's helping you at the hardware store, it's like, mate, where do I find this? Rather than ajashi, where do I find this?
Yeah.
So I think Australians often have difficulty when there is cultural interactions, and especially if it's an Asian culture where there is a hierarchy. I think Australians often can offend a lot without meaning to, simply because we have nothing like that. We
Maybe
don't
they
know what to
can
say.
say like ajashi mate,
Ajashi mate.
ajumma mate.
Yeah, maybe because although the US uses terms like mom and sir, we don't use them that much in Australia. So it doesn't, like, we're still culturally different from the US as well. So I think for both of us, lack of hierarchy.
Yeah, hierarchy.
And having a hierarchy here in Korea. Because it affects everything, the way society is set up. Like, it affects everything.
yeah, make joke with your boss or someone who is older than you in Korea,
Korea.
but you can do it in
In Australia. Yeah.
So sometimes it's quite confused. So if I do the same as things what I did in Australia and Korea, people think I'm rude. Yeah, I'm rude. Yeah.
I think it's an interesting contrast that in Korea, because of the hierarchy, you have to be so careful about your boss. But there's such an after-work drinking culture with your boss
Yes.
as well. Which, of course, you can do that in Australia, but you're not obligated to go to the pub with your boss after work. But in Korea, if your boss says, we're going drinking, it's Friday night, we're doing this, you can't just leave, right?
You can't. If you do that, you are rude person.
Yeah, there's been a lot of social commentary lately about Korean work culture and how much is appropriate, because it is a big stress on people that bosses have such a high position. So there's a lot of social commentary on that. So it'll be interesting to see how much that changes. I think there's good things in Korean culture. I think there's good things in Australian culture, and I think somewhere in the middle, I think would suit everybody. Okay, what about food? That can be quite different culturally as well, even though I'm so used to it now. So Koreans all sharing a meal like
sharing
that.
the meal and have meal on the floor.
Even though I'm used to that, your parents have rarely ever in their life been in a situation where they sit at a table and eat with a knife and fork.
No.
With a knife and fork.
Yeah, but we had a table and chairs before, but we don't use it anymore because we don't have enough space.
So it's the small table on the floor like that. Yeah. That is quite different. And there's been a few times where there's a little table and I've eaten something with a knife and fork. There's one set of knife and fork
yours.
In this house. That is it. Everything else is chopsticks and spoon.
Yeah.
So there's one set that's a knife and fork. And so there's been a few times where I've sat at the table and chair and eaten like this. And I eat, the Australians are more British, so we do the British. Your parents laughed at me. They were so
because
strange.
It's cute.
So strange.
Cute and strange.
That is something that I do actually really miss. Even though, I love Korean food and Korean culture, but I miss having a dinner party like that in Australia. I miss having the set seats and the knife and fork, and this is your dessert spoon, and this is the appetizers, and this is the main, and this is the structure that comes from British culture of having a dinner party like that. That's something I definitely miss.
As long as the food is good, we don't care where we eat.
You don't care because you like Australian style eating and you like Korean style eating.
Yeah, I like both.
Yeah.
If the food is good.
If the food is good.
Yeah, anywhere is fine.
Okay, that's all for this Ask Us video. So if you do have some more questions, you can leave them in the comment section here, and
subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And you can check out the comics on the blog. Bye bye.
Bye bye.